All right, welcome. Today we are going to demystify what it really takes to formally and legally close a partnership business. And trust me, it's a lot more than just locking the doors and walking away. It's a whole process of settling up and, officially ending a business relationship. So picture this. Two friends, they run a super successful cafe together, but they decide, hey, it's time to close up shop. They've built something amazing, but now it's time to move on. So how do they do it fairly? How do they make sure that everyone, from their coffee bean supplier right down to themselves, gets exactly what they're owed? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. You might think ending a partnership is just like flipping an off switch on the whole business. But, it's usually a lot more nuanced than that. Sometimes you're just swapping out a player on the team, and other times the whole team is hanging up their jerseys for good.
And this actually happens way more often than you'd think. Maybe a new partner gets brought in, right? They bring fresh capital, new ideas, or maybe an existing partner decides to retire or sadly passes away. In all those cases, the original partnership agreement is dissolved, but the firm itself, it can totally keep operating under a brand new agreement. And this, right here, this leads us to what is probably the single most important distinction in this entire process. Seriously, getting this wrong can lead to some major legal and financial headaches. So the big question is, are we just changing the players, or is the game itself completely over? Because legally, these two things are worlds apart. This slide just nails it. It perfectly captures a legal distinction that actually goes all the way back to the Partnership Act of 1932. So on one hand, a dissolution of partnership is just a change in the legal relationship between the partners. The business itself can keep on chugging. But a dissolution of the firm? Oh, that's the final curtain call. The business shuts down for good. And here is where the rubber really meets the road. I mean, just look at the difference here. Dissolving a partnership? You might just be updating the value of your assets for a new balance sheet. The business keeps humming along. But dissolving the firm? Whoa, that's a fire sale. You are liquidating everything to pay off your debts, and the accounting books, they get slammed shut forever. So when it really is game over for the firm, there are super strict rules for settling all the accounts. You can't just start paying out profits randomly. There's a legal and, well, a very logical pecking order. And I mean it. This isn't just a suggestion, it's the law. Section 48 of the Partnership Act lays out a very strict payment order. And why? Well, it's to protect the people who trusted your business, your suppliers, your lenders. The law makes absolutely sure they get paid back before the partners can even think about paying themselves. So you have to remember this pecking order. First in line, always, are the outsiders, the third parties you owe money to. Simple as that. Once they're all taken care of, then you can repay any loans a partner might have personally made to the business. Next up, partners get their original investment back, and only then, if there's anything left in the pot, do you get to share the profits. Okay, so how do you manage this whole complex dance of selling assets and paying off debts in the exact right order? Well, accountants have a special tool just for this job. It's a temporary account called the realization account, and it basically acts as the command center for the entire dissolution. Just think of the realization account as the central hub for the entire shutdown. It's where you record the sale of all your assets and the payment of all your liabilities to figure out, the final score. Did the firm close with a profit or a loss? Let's break this down. Think of it like a final tally sheet, okay? On one side, the debit side, you list everything you own, all your assets. On the other side, the credit side, you list everything you owe, all your liabilities. When you sell an asset, cash comes in, you record it. When you pay a liability, cash goes out, you record that too. In the end, the balance of this one single account tells you if you made a final profit or a loss from the whole shutdown. Pretty neat, right? All right, time for a quick pop quiz on that key concept. A firm's business is terminated in a dissolution of partnership. True or false? What do you think? The answer is false. Remember, a dissolution of partnership just reshuffles the team. It's the dissolution of the firm where the business actually ends. Great job. Now that we've totally nailed the theory, let's see how this actually works in practice. We'll use a simple little example of a firm run by two partners, Supriya and Monica, who've decided it's time to dissolve their business. So here's a look at their books just before they close up. On the liability side, you can see their capital, that's the money they put in,
And there's sundry creditors, which is just a fancy term for all the different suppliers they owe money to. Then on the asset side, you've got what they own: cash, stock, sundry debtors, that's money their customers owe them, and their fixed assets.
Okay, so now we put that realization account to work. We literally move all their assets and liabilities into this one special account. As they sell off their fixed assets and their stock, the cash they get is recorded. Then, as they pay off their creditors and any costs from the shutdown itself, that cash outflow is also recorded. It's a very clean, step-by-step process of turning everything into cash and settling all the accounts.
And after all the dust settles, assets are sold, liabilities are paid, the realization account for Supriya and Monica's farm shows a final profit. This profit of 2,925 rupees is the net gain from the entire dissolution, which will then be split between them.
And that brings us to the final payout. So let's go ahead and wrap this all up by reviewing the key steps and the most important takeaways from this whole process. It's all about following a strict logical order.
As you can see, it's a really structured flow. It starts with making the big decision, then it moves into the technical accounting with the realization account. It handles all the cash flow from selling assets and paying debts, settles all the partner accounts, and ends with the final closure of the books. It's a clean process.
Look, if you walk away with just 3 things from all this, let it be these. First, know the crucial difference between ending the firm and just changing the partnership. Second, that payment order, it is not optional. It's a legal requirement to protect outsiders. And third, the realization account is your absolute best friend for making sure the whole thing is done fairly and accurately.
So that's our look at the dissolution of a partnership firm. It's a precise process, really, designed to make sure there's fairness and closure for everyone involved. We hope this leaves you with a really clear understanding and maybe something new to think about. Thanks for watching.